All the rocks upon which we build our lives, we are most dependent on the family. The family is that most important foundation. And we are called to recognize and honor how critical every father is to that foundation. They are teachers and coaches, they're mentors, and they're role models. They are examples of success and the men who constantly push us towards success.
What's going on? What's going wrong? We're staying strong, but the path got rocky, the road was long. Listen, so the kids can see what a man can be. Do it for the community, do it for unity, for you and me. Don't be illin', abandoning the children, tuning them to villains. God willing, brothers come back home and build with the women. I swore I never do what I've been put through, so I'm staying and raising you. I see in your eyes all love, no lies.
Alright, 1 2 1 2, check. Yeah, want to welcome everybody to the Black Dad Academy. What's going on, everybody? Yo, what's going on with y'all, man? How y'all living?
We good.
Living like a turkey on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, man. Oh man, so. First and foremost, I want to introduce myself. I'm DJ Rock. Brian Harris, my real name, a.k.a. DJ Rock.
Balel Smith.
Andy Rose, a.k.a. Raggedy Andy.
Shout out to Jay who couldn't make it, but he'll be on the next episode. But, yeah, first and foremost, I want to just give y'all a little intro to exactly what the Black Dad Academy is. So, like, what was the thought process in creating the Black Dad Academy, a.k.a., so, like, why did we come up with this? Well, first and foremost, let me preface this by saying, what's been the narrative and the perception of black men as fathers? What are some of the negative stereotypes that plague our community? There's we got a lot of random kids out of wedlock, bunch of baby mamas in the community, and we don't really love them. We out there on the block hustling, but we don't really have a real job or anything like that. In and out of jail, we either using or selling, rock, weed, whatever. Athletes, wannabe rappers, violent gangsters with, anger issues. Basically the perception is we are trap music, mumble rap. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah.
That's the perception. That's the narrative that they have on black men in the world out there. But realistically, in turn, like my reality is none of that. The friends that I hang out with, like their reality is none of that. My father's reality is none of that. So the backdrop of all that led to this. The fact that, we as men, being competitive by nature, we want to be the best that we can be at everything we do. Whether it was basketball, football, track, academics, we always want to be the best. We in the club, we want to be the one that danced the best, whatever. We're just competitive by nature. But, parenting also falls into that. Parenting is no different. We want to be the best parents we can be for our children because we want them to eventually be able to go on and survive on their own and be better parents than we are. So that was basically the base that led me to this. Not only that, I have friends, got y'all right here. We sit here back and forth, we chat, whether it be face to face, whether it be on social media. We have kids, we have issues. Yo, man, how you when your kid do this, what's your reaction? How do you take care of that? Yo, do you spank your kids? If so, why? If not, why? And then it just basically led to a whole thing where it's like you have the belief where it takes a village to raise a child. So, and the village has to be strong. So we felt that, not only are we going to learn from experience, but we want to learn from the experience. So what better way to network about being a parent and being a father than to network with other fathers? And then, if you're a black father, you want to network with other black fathers. So I wanted to create a platform for us to grow together as a team of black fathers, erase negative stereotypes of black fathers. Because, you hear all the narratives, all the, the myths, all the bad stuff. But what about all those fathers that are out there doing good things? What about all those fathers that are out there doing positive things? What about those fathers that aren't living up to those stereotypes? And typically it's usually more good than bad, just like anything. A couple of bad apples can spoil the bunch. So, that was the whole reason behind creating the Black Dad Academy. And you don't have to be just part of my crew to be the Black Dad Academy. Anybody can be down with the Black Dad Academy. If you black and you a father and you doing what you're supposed to do as a father, come on and join us. You know what I'm saying? So what are your thoughts on that, y'all?
Well, not only if you're doing what you're supposed to be, but even if you're not, it could be something that you learn from all of us. You know, everybody's going to, you know, be here dropping jewels and giving advice and just basically fellowshipping with others and sharing on experiences that you may have occurred in your path or may not have occurred in your path. I mean, like, we've always drawn from each other. And like you and I were talking Monday, and you were telling me of something that Bilal told you. And I was like, I wish he would have said, I would have heard that when my daughter was around the age of your daughter.
Exactly.
But when he said, you know, take her door off.
Yeah.
You know, take the door off. That would have worked perfectly for me, but I didn't have somebody that you know, would have shared that with me, and I wish I would have had that. So, you know, that's what we're building here, you know, a partnership where everybody can share on experiences, or if somebody has, you know, something that's coming up, we can prepare them for that.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes, you know, we don't got the answer, Sway. So, you know, you got to reach out to your brothers and say, hey, you know, you've been in this situation before. You might have, you know, a daughter or a son like I do. You might have one that's a little bit older. So the point I'm at in my life, you were there 3 years ago. You were there 5 years ago. You was there 6 months ago. You know, how did you handle that situation? You know, this isn't just about dropping jewels, but it's also about, you know, learning from each other, you know, and as we go on, you know, our kids are going to get older. So just to give a little background of who I am, I'm born and raised in Rochester. I've been married since 2008. We have one daughter who is 9, and I feel like she's going on 29. So that's kind of like the pocket that I'm in. I'm the father with a 9-year-old daughter. No sons, a daughter. And good example, like I remember back, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago to a couple of my peoples. I was like, you know, back in the day, I used to lift weights because I wanted to eat whatever I want and I want to still look good. Now I'm lifting weights for my daughter's future little raggedy boyfriends that I'm trying to scare away. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like it's like just being in different sections of your life with the age your kids are at are going to determine how you handle certain situations. Like, for example, I have a 9-year-old daughter. If somebody has a 9-year-old son, they're probably going to handle a certain situation slightly different because they have a boy versus a girl. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm coming from as far as, you know, my background as far as being a parent. Married, one daughter, 9 years old. What about you?
Well, Bilal, I've been married since 2009, me and my wife. So we have eight years together married, and we have 2 boys. We have a 6-year-old son and we have a 2-year-old son. So it's interesting to hear about the daughter stories because we both want a girl at some point. Yeah. The 2-year-old has drastically put a dent in any plans of ever happening. Of
you
that
at
ever
that
happening.
stage.
But yeah, you know, we would like a girl at some point. So it's always good to hear, you know, the stories about, you know, from your friends and your peers who have the little girls. As a matter of fact, the story about, you know, taking the door off the hinges. I heard that from one of my fraternity brothers who has a daughter, and that was one that I said I'm gonna put that in my back pocket so that way, if I ever have a girl, you know, and she gets to the point where we need to take that measure. Yeah, the door's coming off the hinges because, you know, he made a valid point. What do girls value more than anything? They value their privacy. They want to have autonomy over their space. So, you know, they go in their room and they close the door and they're off in their own little world. Mm-hmm. He said, you know, I can't tell her don't go to your room. So the punishment was I'm taking the door off because he tried taking away video games. She doesn't care. She'll read. Can't take books away because you want them to read.
Exactly.
No TV. Doesn't matter. She'll go read. So he said, I'm going to hit her where it hurts. She likes that door. She likes her privacy. He took the door off the hinges.
And to be honest, I really didn't even know how much she liked the door until I took the door off. Because my wife was even like, well, she only closes the door when she's getting changed after a shower. And she only really closes it because you tell her to close it. I'm like, all right, we're going to see what happened, though. Man, I took that door off. And she just like, Daddy, I mean, like, I just can't believe it. I mean, I didn't think you'd take the whole entire door off. You took the door, Like, I have no door. And, like, she wasn't really stressing, like, when she was telling me that. But I could tell deep down she was stressing because the way she was telling me it was just crazy. And I'm like, just something like that simple. Like, it spoke volumes, you know? It's crazy.
Might have to use that one on my granddaughter. I got some time, but I might have to use that because I didn't get to use that on my daughter. So I definitely got to use that one. I'm gonna keep that in the back pocket.
Yeah, well, speaking of which, you might as well segue into your pocket of parenting.
I'm Raggedy Andy. I was married before. I was married 10 years, divorced. I don't know how many years because I don't count the years. I'm currently in a relationship. I have 2 children. One's a boy, one's a girl. One's 25, one's 22. I'm sorry, Dante's 26, Angelique is 22. Both of them have their own children. Dante has a son by the name of King. King is 6 years old. And Angelique has a daughter by the name of Leanna, and she will be 1 year old in next month on the 24th. So, parenting it doesn't stop after you have the kids, because then when they have their kids, you start all over again. But the beauty of that is, as my dad told me, the beauty of having grandkids is you can send them back home when you're ready to send them back home. When you get tired of them, they got somewhere else they can go to.
That's how I felt like as a track coach. It's like I got kids that I get back to their parents every day.
Right.
Right.
So here's what I think is the cool part about Andy being in the mix of the Black Dad Academy is, so you have a 9-year-old, I have a 6-year-old. Those are our oldest respectively.
Yeah.
With Andy, he's the only one right now in the group who's been parenting more of his life than not.
Yes.
So when you have
didn't look at it that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's significant because one of the things that I always look at is you get to a point in life where you've been parenting so long that how do you separate non-parenting decisions versus parenting decisions. So in the terms of, okay, your parents will I remember you saying to my parents, hey, I just need you to like kind of give me an advice right now that's non-parental. Like I need you to kind of be like,
I need you to be the voice of reason.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
But my parents have been having children so long that you cannot separate the two. They've been parenting so long that my mom's oldest again is almost 50. You know what I mean? So when you think about you've been parenting that long, you can't separate making a decision as a person versus making a decision as a parent, because you've been making decisions as a parent so long that it comes natural now. So to just think that way, so you can't separate the two. And I think that perspective is interesting to have, or needful to have on this platform, because you don't have neither one of us have had children so long that I think we're at that point now. I do filter parenting through pretty much every one of my thoughts or decisions or reactions right now, but I don't, it's not so embedded that I can't every once in a while take a step back and say, this is what Bilal would do versus Bilal the dad would do.
Yeah. Right. But it's even like it's funny you bring it up. I remember back in the day when I was looking at like moving to a different area, like I want to live in this town because I like that area. They got some nice restaurants and everything like that. Or maybe this town because it's close to this, close to that. But now I'm looking at stuff like, man, like what school district is gonna be good? Because like my daughter and any future kids that we have. I want to make sure they have the best education. Right. What neighborhood is going to be a neighborhood where they can go outside and play? It's like these things that I wasn't thinking about as a single or a dating individual. Now as a father, I had to think totally like, besides the fact that, okay, yeah, I might be close to Chili's, but what's going to be beneficial for my current daughter and future kids that I'm going to have? Do they have playgrounds close by? Things like that you don't even think about. So these are a lot of things. And like you said, having people in this Black Dad Academy that are at different stages of parenting, we're going to be able to just share so many different perspectives and ideas on the multitude of things that we can talk about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think what else is cool about that is when me and my wife, when we were looking and shopping for our house, and we're so we're in the process of we were in the process of trying to buy a house, and we're going to look at houses, and it was totally different than when we found an apartment to live at, because you're not looking for the same things. Hey, it's nice, it's in a good area, and it works for us, and it's within what we want to spend.
Yeah.
But when you have kids, one of the biggest things for my wife was she wanted a yard. She wanted somewhere for her kids to play. That's those are the kinds of things that you think of totally differently when you become a parent versus when you're not. You shop for houses totally differently.
Is it on a busy street?
Exactly. Or is it a street where again, if it's is it a good neighborhood? Not in terms of just it being a safe environment, but is it a good neighborhood in terms of children? Are there other children on the street?
Exactly.
So you ride down the street at different points of the day when you house hunting, because you want to see, are there other kids on the street? Are they playing? Are they outside? Do they seem friendly? Do they look like my children? You know what I mean? Are they kids that I think my kids could get along with? Are they children around my children's age, or is there such an age disparity that my kids won't necessarily be able to relate to or get along with, because again, my kids are in a totally different age group. So you look for all of those dynamics when you become a parent, that I don't think you can think of. I remember being younger, and my grandmother used to have this saying, and she would always say, she used to say, "Baby, keep living." And what she was essentially saying was, she was letting it be known that the things that you don't understand right now, the things that don't necessarily make sense to you right now, are going to change when you become older. When you have children, you're going to take on a totally different mindset, and that was one of those things that it hit me once I had kids, that what she was saying I could really understand and relate to now. Keep living, because I used to just think that it was that was just parent talk. Things like when they would chastise us or discipline us, it hurts me more than it hurts you. I thought that was just good parent talk.
But real.
It really does resonate once you have a child, that having to chastise or discipline your child, you know what I mean, and to see your child's reaction, nothing hurts me more than seeing my kids cry, and for whatever reason, and those are the kinds of things that.
And it's worse when it's a girl. Oh my God, when my daughter's crying. Imagine.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Because it's funny, because I had a conversation with one of my friends like years ago. Just in general, I hate to see a woman cry, and then it's a woman that I'm married to, or a woman that's my daughter. It's just or my mother. I hate to see a woman cry, but when you have to discipline, and they're crying because you're disciplining, it's just like you have to give the discipline, but then it's like in the back of your head, it's like, oh my God. You becoming that soft dad, like, oh my gosh, she's crying. I just want to hug her and hold her, but she did mess up in class, so I gotta discipline her. It's that fine line you have to play, and it's funny you said the whole "it hurts me more than it hurts you." That is so true.
It really does. I mean, just think about like when you have your kids and you got to take them to the doctors and get shots.
Oh my God.
You really, as a parent, you wish you could take that pain for them.
The blood curdling streams,
or like an ear infection or something like that that they're agonizing pain, and you can't do anything to alleviate the pain at the moment. So basically, when you're parenting, for me anyway, I had a lot of good parents in my life. Aside from my own, I watched my friends' parents and how they parented. I took a little bit of this from this person, that person. The book doesn't always tell you everything. Nope. People always seem to think that the book could give you all the answers, but the book is only written by the author, and it might be sufficient for the author, but is that person who wrote the book writing it to you or for you, your demographics?
I think what's significant about you saying that too is, or rather what's funny about the whole getting the shot story is my kids, and once you have your next kid, you'll see this. You'll definitely see this, Brian, because what was funny was, I didn't know how they would interact, how they would relate, because my son was the baby for 4 years. So would he take to his younger brother, or would he be jealous? Would he want to beat him up? How would he react to having this new life that was now going to get most of the attention. And he was instantly so protective and so loving of him that it was just mind blowing, and it was touching. It was emotional to see, because we had them having a doctor's appointment. And he was going to get shots, and my oldest son got his shots first. He's never been one that would cry, or when he had to go to the doctor, never any issues. No, he has a very high tolerance or threshold for pain or something, because he does not cry when getting shots or anything related to that. We go to the doctor, he gets his shots first, no problem, fine. Yeah. The youngest one, not so much. They gave him his first shot of about 3, and he went to hollering. He, you could hear it. You could hear it all throughout the little office. Yeah, and it touched my oldest son so much that he said to the nurse, he said, "Please don't hurt my little brother anymore. I'll take his shots for him." Wow. So it was, you talking about touching to see as a parent how much they love each other and how bonded and connected they are. And again, you will see that this is another dynamic that I think is interesting. I don't have the benefit of parenting separate genders, so I can imagine that if you have a boy child and a girl child, you parent them different. But having 2 boys, even having the same gender, same sex child, you parent them differently. My oldest son, he is very emotionally intuitive, and more than anything, he doesn't want to disappoint whoever the adult is or authority figure is. If it's a teacher, if it's me, if it's my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my wife, my mom, my dad, the idea of disappointing an adult that he looks up to, it hurts him more than anything. So for him, I don't have to chastise him aggressively. If I just let him know I'm disappointed, it breaks him. He wants to immediately correct whatever the behavior is. But my youngest, the 2-year-old, the one that I told you made us rethink whether or not we were ever going to have kids again.
Ever.
Ever. Yeah. Forever. Yeah, him. If you are not stern or strong with him, he will completely walk over you. And that is, that's a dynamic that you really have to, becomes interesting to see how different their personalities are. And I remember before we had our oldest, I was wondering how long would it be before I could see his personality come out? How long would it be before I could see his personality come through? And it was almost immediately. Wow. You could see his personality, see what type of person he was going to be. Yeah. He is still the same way to this day. Early on, if he saw somebody, you didn't have to tell him that their feelings were hurting. He could sense it. He'd come up to you and say, "Oh, is everything all right? What's wrong? Don't cry." He'd rub your back. Again, this is a 2-year-old, and he would do this. The youngest one, he don't care what's wrong with you. he give him what he want and go on about your business. It's Bryson want this or Bryson want that, and if you can't do it, it's Bryson don't care. Bryson don't care. Bryson kick butt. Yeah, that's the youngest. But the oldest one, he wants to make sure everyone is okay and doing all right. Yeah, he is so emotionally intuitive. It's so touching to see. But again, it speaks to that difference in dynamic and personality. Yeah, and how you parent them differently based upon those different personalities.
It's funny you bring it up, because it reminds me of that one episode of Blackish where he's about to give the youngest son the whooping for the first time, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, he gonna get it bad," and everything like that. But then at the end of the episode, Anthony Anderson was just basically like, "I'm just so disappointed in you." But then when he said that, the kid just bawled out crying so much. Like, he never spanked him, but when he ran out the room, all the other kids was like, "Oh my God, he got it real bad. You see how he crying?" He never even touched him. He just told him how disappointed he was. And like you said, depending on the child, because obviously the other kids in the family had gotten that whooping before. They knew what that belt felt like, But this kid, he just had to tell him how disappointed he was, and that made the world of a difference. And it's also funny how you bring up, how kids are going to receive future children. Because granted, like I said, we have one daughter, she's 9. It's crazy. Like, when we play the game of life, we just playing the game of life as a family. So, like, you know, either my wife or I will land on the thing where we have to get kids and everything like that. And my daughter be like, "No, don't pick another girl." We have to, like the game says you got. Like, so I'm already looking like, oh my God, if we have another daughter, how is she really gonna react in real life? This is just a game, but how's she gonna react in real life to having another daughter? Because it's like she's our princess. She probably wants to be the only princess. She wouldn't mind having a brother because he's not gonna be another princess. But you know, do girls look as like a future sister as competition? Yeah. In Princess Land, you know what I mean? So that's an interesting dynamic, as you know, because we do plan on having more children. Let's be real, you know, this is the Black Dad Academy. I don't know about, you know, everybody else, but I know where I'm from, every black dad wants to either have a 4x4 relay or a starting 5 basketball team. So you know.
Well, I'm done, brother. I'm done. I can't have kids younger than my grandkids. I'm done.
Well, until the black mother chimes in and says, "Okay, yo, we're not having that many kids," so you know, then you gotta do what you gotta do. But you know, it's just interesting to see that dynamic. Like, obviously, you can't pick what type of child you're gonna have. You know, so it's just interesting to see how that child is gonna react. If it's a boy, if it's a girl, like, "Oh, I have a little brother. Oh, I got a little sister. Now I gotta share my spotlight." Or if it's a brother, is he gonna embrace another brother because now he has somebody to hang with, or is he gonna be mad that he's getting a sister because it's a girl? You know, it's just different. It could be great for both. You know, it all depends on the person and the individual. You know, that personality.
It usually starts out like if you have, you know, like Bilal has 2 sons.
Yeah,
and the older one usually embraces being the big brother.
Yeah,
like if in my you know situation, I have, you know, a son and a daughter, and Dante embraced being the big brother. To this day, he still thinks that he can kind of dictate things to his little sister and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And it's real funny when like you get to like the point where, you know, like when they start dating and Dante feels as though he has to be accepting of the boyfriend and things of that nature. The dynamics of that is so funny. It's almost like he takes the persona of the parent.
Yeah.
And he takes it more seriously than I do. Because it was crazy because, you know, my daughter's boyfriend, I knew him before she did.
Yeah.
You know, he was a kid that used to come up to the rec center. You may know of him. Akeem Robinson's his name. You know, they used to live down the street or whatever. And so I already knew him. So I already had a, you know, relationship with him and his mom and things of that nature. But my son, though he knew of him, you were still trying to date his sister, and he wasn't having it. Period. I mean, even now, he's still sort of, you know, in the middle about how he feels about him. But to a man, like I said, most boys want to be big brother. Yeah. You know, it's like a medal of honor to be a big brother.
Uh-huh.
It's funny you say that because my son definitely embraced the idea of being a big brother. He loved it. I mean, even when my wife was pregnant, he, you know.
Well, that's when it begins. Because once they see that it's gonna happen, they embrace it already. I'm pretty sure he probably was like, "Mom, you can't do that. You can't," you know, dictating already. You know,
he would talk to her and he would say, "I'm gonna be a good big brother." You know, he talked about what he would do, what he wanted to do with his new brother, and you know, especially when he found out he was gonna have a younger brother. You know, you could just see how excited he was, and it was interesting because, you know, like I said, their personalities and seeing their personalities come through. How early I saw my older son's personality come through. Mm-hmm. I knew that we were going to have another kid because his personality. He's not someone that likes to be alone. He likes before we had our youngest son, he would like to sleep in the bed with us. Well, he doesn't care about sleeping in the bed with us because, you know, now he's got his younger brother to kind of sleep in the bed with him. And so as long as he loves people, so as long as he's got somebody around, he's good. So I kind of saw that early on that, you know what, we're not, you know, just having another child because we want another child. Like it's gonna be so beneficial for his growth. He loves to teach him what he learns in school. So my younger son is so far advanced because he gets the benefit of having an older brother who wants to show him and teach him and tell him and all the things that he's learning about, from whether it be school, whether it be sports, you name it, he's trying to teach his younger brother those things, even as early as, you know, my youngest son being 2 years old. So kind of seeing that dynamic. Now my youngest son, if he would have been born first, I don't know if we would have had another child, because, you know, he doesn't want to share. He's a totally different ball of wax. He just, that's not his thing. So I am curious that if we ever did have another child, how he would react. It would probably, you know, have to be a girl for him to have a reaction that we could live with, because, you know, if it was another boy, I'd have to put like a 24 around the clock security for him, because I think my youngest son would try to hurt him. Yeah. if we had another boy. So again,
he'd be that middle child.
Yeah.
You know, listen, but it would be an interesting middle child situation, because he's been the baby now for 2 years, and since we're not expecting right now, he'll be 3 in April, so he'd be at least 3 by the time, you know, we had another child, and almost probably 4. You know, so even though he'd be the middle child who had a youngest child experience for a significant period of time before another child. So that would be a, you know, real interesting dynamic to see it play out, you know. But it's again, it just kind of all those scenarios. You know, my kids are at least 10 years away from hopefully dating.
It's crazy. Andy made me cringe when he mentioned the D word.
I'm telling you, listen, y'all gonna have to rely on me on that one, because it's tough. It's tough because there's 2 separate ways that you have to parent for the dating. You know, you being a man and having a daughter, you're what your daughter looks for in a man. Yeah, because you're their first love. So whoever they decide to be with, they want to be either on the same level or up to par as their dad. Yeah, and it's just an interesting dynamic, and just the whole parenting thing. Just embrace the whole thing, because the ride is the fun part. Just to watch them develop. I mean, just something simple as, you know, looking at their school pictures and stuff over the years, and just to see how much they change from year to year. Like, you know, you may have a picture where, you know, they have no front teeth, and then the next year, you know, only one grew back, and things of that nature. You know, the whole ride is amazing. And then when you look at him, like, you're like, gosh, you graduating high school. How did this happen so fast? Yeah, you know, and then to get to where the kids are moving out of your house. Yep. You know, you pray for the day when you can have the empty nest, but as soon as you get it, you kind of want them back, because it's not normalcy for you, because you've lived how many years with them depending on you. It's kind of tough when they don't need you. You know, because we're trained to be the protector, the provider, and all that thing, and then to watch them be able to do for self, it's gratifying, but it's sometimes sad as well.
And it's even that other dynamic you're talking about, like as far as like the growth and development. So say, for example, like my daughter, y'all know she's tall as I don't know what. She grows like a tree. So her being young, and then like it seems like every other day, it's like, yo, just grow an inch since I dropped you off at school. Like, you just grow an inch. But not only like just the height development, but my daughter runs track. So like she started running when she was 3. So when she was out there at 3, she's doing like the 5 and under 50-yard dash and everything. She just go out there smiling, having a good time. But then as she gets older and she started developing, she started getting serious about it. Now she's taking pride in her performance, and just seeing that development. It's like, man, like I remember when we just out there just run. And then I'd be at the finish line and catch you in the arms, and hey, we go get a slice of pizza, and everything was cool. But now you sitting there asking for tips, and well, yeah, like I want a long jump now. Like she's dying to hurdle. So it's just like the whole time, like, yo, I remember when you just was just running just to have fun, but now like you're studying this. You know, it's just crazy, just how time flies. You know. But I got a question for y'all. You know, so like, granted, I came up with this idea. You know, like I said, we talk back and forth, whether it be in person or on social media, you know, shooting back and forth ideas, like whether it be just discipline or just different experiences that we come across with our kids. When I came up with this idea and brought it to y'all, what made y'all want to be a part of it?
So for me, I was excited to be a part of it because, again, I think about, the dynamics and the complexities and the uniqueness of being a black dad, and to have a forum and have a platform and a group, you know what I mean? To have actually, just a group of brothers who take pride in being, fathers and husbands and just bringing up their kids and, like-minded people. I thought that was something that was needed. It's not necessarily something that you can look out and you see that's there, and I think that's they say inventors. Shout out to Edison Tech.
Yes, sir.
What we do is an inventor is someone that sees a void and creates something that fills and meets the need of whatever that void that exists. So I think that's something for me I saw there that it was a void, that there wasn't a platform necessarily that black fathers who are active, present, and engaged in their children's lives could just really be a part of and speak to all the the beauties, again, the difficulties, the challenges, all of the things as it relates to
the
being
comedy
exactly of being a black dad, you know what I mean? And so that really drew me to it, just to have an outlet and an opportunity to learn, to grow, to share, to hear, just all of those things as it related to being a black dad. And the opportunity to be able to connect with something like that, that positive, was just I jumped at it.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it was just a great opportunity to kind of change the narrative of what a black dad is.
Yeah.
For as long as I can remember, there wasn't many positives about being a black dad, but the things that I was seeing from the people that I was around was nothing but great dads.
Yeah.
Always being with your kids, not having to choose between your kids and something else, always putting your kids first, representing your family correctly, and just, a forum where if I don't know something that I need to know that'll better me in my parenting journey, that I can look to this forum here to provide me with certain answers or maybe certain things that may help me around that, and just to surround yourself with men that are good fathers, good individuals, pillars in our communities. Why wouldn't I want to be a part of it?
I think you make a great point that can't be overstated. The narrative of what it is, of what black fatherhood is, what a black dad is, it's almost a joke or an oxymoron, to the general public. A black dad or a black father, what does that look like? What is that? Because the thought is that it doesn't exist. They don't see it. It's not really, present, or they're not really active. They're not really involved. They're not really engaged. So, like as you said, to have the opportunity to change that paradigm, to shift what people think, know, and experience about what a black dad is. Again, not just one of us getting on here and talking about our experience, but a group, a collection of men who are all engaged, all active, all being involved in again in their children's lives in such a way that, again, people listening, they can't help but change their thought process, or it challenges any present or existing stereotypes you might have of what a black father is. You can't say, well, all of the black dads I know. As a matter of fact, I think back to when my oldest son, when he first started school, one of the things that me and my wife would do is we would both take him into the school together.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that we consciously made the decision to do, because it was something that we wanted to send a message to
we're
whoever,
both here.
Exactly, whoever his teacher was. He has a mom and a dad.
Yeah.
And there's days where I might occasionally forget to wear my wedding ring or my wedding band to work or something like that, but for the most part, I always make sure when I walk out of the door that I have it on, so again, when we would get there, they would understand, again, mom and dad are not just co-parenting, we're together. And I'm not speaking against, or I don't have anything against co-parenting or single parenting, but to change the narrative, to really drive home the fact that there are black fathers present in homes, active and engaged in their children's lives, and have, are building the foundation for their children and having families as opposed to making babies was something that I felt like was really needful, and again, just that didn't exist. So there's a void there, and I feel like this platform gives us the opportunity to really fill that void.
Yeah. Right, and also, this is an opportunity for us to help others break the cycle as well. I mean, we're here to help. If there's something that you're lacking, you may be able to find it here. I'm not here to say that we have all the answers, but together, all of us, whether it be, the listeners giving us feedback or something, we can learn from whatever you guys, say to us, or us giving you feedback to, help you, better whatever it is skill set that you have as far as being a parent. As you can see, the three of us are all at different stages of parenting. So, some things like we spoke about the door, that's something I wish I would have had, earlier in my parenting experience, but I could use now with my grandkids, or, you guys coming to me, for advice on, your children dating or something like that, because I've gone through it. I'm not saying that, whatever I tell you is the gospel or anything, but it would help you to make your decision. So if you see that you were on the same track, then that'll give you more reassurance that, I'm doing the right thing. Or if it's maybe something that you didn't think of, you can incorporate that with whatever, way that you were going about it.
Yeah. I think what's really cool about it is not having all the answers. It's not even about for me having the answers. For me, it is about having the platform,
and the dialogue.
Exactly. Yes. Just to kind of use a quick example, LeBron James made a statement last week that a Fox News reporter commented on. I'm not even going to use her name to give her any kind of publicity or press or airtime or whatever the case might be.
No love here.
Exactly. But she, he was ridiculed for making a statement, and she responded by saying, "Shut up and dribble." And what she was really trying to imply by this statement was, he's not a politician. He's not someone whose expertise or experiences in politics. So why would he be commenting about political matters? Well, the fact of the matter isn't whether or not he's some sort of political pundit or analyst or anything like that. It's he has a platform. And he has a voice, and the opportunity that his platform affords him is that there are other people from communities that look like his and look like ours that have a voice who aren't being heard. He's taken on the responsibility to give their voices who would otherwise not be heard, to give them a voice because of the platform that he has. So it's not so much about, even for me, having answers. You know what I mean? We all have thoughts, feelings, opinions about scenarios and situations that we'll certainly comment on as it relates to the parenting experience. But for me, it's not even so much about having the answers as much as it is about having a platform that others who are saying, again, even if I'm a single father, but I'm looking for some additional methods, strategies, or ideas about how to raise my children or how to parent my children, or if I'm looking for the dynamic of, hey, well, I'm a co-parenting, I'm in a co-parenting situation, and but here's what I think is missing from the Black Dad Academy, and I would like to offer this. Or if I'm someone who's I'm a single parent, and I'm a single parent dad, and I think this is something that's missing from the Black Dad Academy, and I would like to offer this. All of that is welcome on this platform. What we wanted to be able to provide, again, is that platform, is that space, that space to shift the paradigm, to shift the conversation from there being all this negativity about black fathers and being existent. Think about this now. every Mother's Day, mothers get celebrated all around the world, and it's and that's a great thing. Again, that is a great thing. Let's celebrate and let's honor these mothers. Where would we be without our mothers? You know what I mean? I love my mother and I love my wife. I love my mother-in-law. My grandmother who's gone on to be with the Lord. I'm thankful for the mothers. But here's the tragedy: is that when Father's Day rolls around, we have gotten to the point where
joke.
Exactly to such a degree that mothers are saying, happy Father's Day
to the mothers that have to function as fathers.
Exactly.
That's one of my biggest peeves. I used to hate that because
it's like
it was taken away from
that are actually
the
doing
fathers
something.
that are there.
Yeah.
My thing was, what, you women have your day. Nobody says, and thank you to the fathers that operate as mothers. And the reason why it bothered me so much was because I went through it. It's no secret. I was divorced. I got divorced in 2008. As a part of the divorce, I ended up keeping the kids, but in me keeping the kids, I still was paying child support. Reason being, I made more money. But at the same time, the struggles that I had to go through, because my thing was I was never going to fail. I wasn't going to be lesser of a parent or dad to my kids than I got from my dad. I had a great dad, so I couldn't be anything less than that for them. And, if I had to go without, I went without, because my kids are a representation of me. And if I look like I'm $1 million, they got to look like they're $2 million, so, in living through something like that, and just to see the blatant disregard and disrespect for the parenting jobs that single men do, that they don't get recognized for. Not that we do it for recognition, because I don't do it for recognition. I do it because I'm supposed to do it.
Exactly.
My kids didn't ask to be here. I wanted them here. So my motto always was that I'm a parent from day one till day done. I've been in my kids' life from the minute they were born, and I'm gonna be there the minute I die or they die, or however this whole thing plays out. If Jesus comes back, I'm there till the end. So with that being said, it kind of did bother me, because it's like you're putting value on something that doesn't need that's priceless.
Yeah. Or I think it again, it's not so much, even for me, taking away credit from a woman who is, single parent raising her children. But again, just extra celebrate her on Mother's Day, and just let us have Father's Day. You know what I mean? Again, as it is, I remember in high school and early on in college, I worked in the restaurants, and the busiest day of the year was always Mother's Day. And then Father's Day, nobody showed up.
Wow.
And it's not because there's no fathers, it's because Father's Day is an afterthought. Make Dad a home cooked meal, or bring Dad a pizza
or a tie,
exactly, and an ugly tie at that. You know what I mean?
We always get the worst presents. So,
exactly.
We'll get here's what you could look forward to with your son. But that happened with me. I would get the presents that my son would know that I might like it, but he would get something where I couldn't use it, so he would get it. Which is funny, but now he doesn't do that, because now he has a son and he knows that's coming.
Yeah. So. But what's funny about that is as fathers, we don't take any issue. We just take it all in stride.
Absolutely.
When again, no matter what it is you get me for Father's Day, I'm ecstatic about it, because to your point, it's great to be celebrated. I'm appreciative of it, but that's not why I do this. I had a great dad. You know what I mean?
We had great role models to put us in the position to be great fathers. I like the same narrative. I had a great father. I still have a great father. I mean, my father was the person I hated growing up, and grew into the person that I love as an adult, because I understood as a father to an adolescent, to a teenager, to a young adult, he had to be stern. He had to be firm, because let's be honest, as black children, there are things that we have to face in society that children of other ethnicities are not going to experience. So he had to prepare me for that, whether I liked him or not. But as I grew older to understand where he was coming from, now we're the best of friends. He even said, like, when we were younger, hate me now, thank me later. And that's pretty much what it's been like, because, I love my father. He's been everything to me. I mean, not to say with my mother, both of my parents are great. But, we're talking about fathers, and it's basically what it was. It was rough growing up because he was so strict, but when you get older and you appreciate and you understand why, and you see a lot of the things that your father did that you're now doing as an adult, you got to be thankful. And then granted, there's some things that I'll do completely different than my father because, I might not agree with how he did certain things. Good example, when I was like in 11th and 12th grade and he came to wake me up, he grabbed me by the ankle and just shake my leg, and I hated that. I'm like, Dad, I just told him when I was like, yo, Dad, you got to stop. So I'm not, I know I'm probably not going to do that to any of my kids. But, I mean, there's a lot of things that he did as a father that I definitely see, myself doing as a father nowadays. And it's like, I had that great upbringing. To a certain extent, sometimes if it's not broke, don't fix it. If it works, if it worked for me, and I see it working for my daughter as well. So, and a lot of the reason that I call this the Black Dad Academy. The reason I wanted to create this platform and call it the Black Dad Academy is because think of this as like online education. I said academy because it's like school. I'm going to come here as a teacher sometimes. I might have something that I can share with my partners, with the people that are listening, that can help you. I might come as a student sometimes. There's sometimes I might come and I don't know. I'm asking questions like, man, my daughter did this and I don't know how to respond to it. Like good example, like what Andy said earlier about dating. In about 3-4 years, 5 years, hopefully 12, 22, 75 years, I'm going to be coming and asking him like, yo, man, she dating, dude. She dating. I don't like him. What should I do? Should I clean the gun off on the table when he show up? Should I threaten? Things like that. I want this to be not a self-help guide. I want this to be a forum where we can share with each other and help each other. People who are listening, our listeners, they can chime in and say, well, you know what? I was in this situation. This is what I did. This is going to be I want this to be a back and forth with anybody listening. And there's 3 of us right now. That could change. I have other brothers that I'm cool with, that are really, really good friends that are also fathers. They may come on and be guests. They may become a permanent part of the show, because they have insight they want to give. I mean, there's no limits to this because, people are going to do things a different way. There's no wrong way. There's no right way. There's, 500 different ways to get to the same place, and one way that might work for you might work differently for somebody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the other thing that's interesting about having strict parents. My dad was definitely I've been getting my hair cut the same way for over 20 years because my dad wasn't one. He wasn't going to allow me to get braids or dye my hair. Now my younger brother, right under me, he pushed the boundaries and pushed the limits and did all
got
that.
Everything right.
Yeah, but I was never allowed to do that. I wasn't even allowed to sag my pants. My father would say, "No, he checking your pants. He want to see where they at." And the thing was, it was not just beyond the fact that understanding that he was parenting, but he was parenting a black male child who was going to inherit a world that did not necessarily love him or was not going to necessarily embrace him.
Yeah.
So when you are raising a black male who one day has to be a black man, you have to understand it. Again, even with my 6-year-old who is a very emotionally intuitive child, so I'm not as stern on him as I am my 2-year-old, but there are times when I'm very, very direct with him and to let him know that you are not gonna, as a matter of fact, I was listening to this morning on the radio. They were talking about Chris Rock's new Netflix comedy special.
Yeah. I think it's Tambourine. I think it's called.
Yeah, Tambourine.
Yeah.
I was listening to it.
Very good show.
Yeah, and he was saying, this morning it was very good. He said to his daughter, he said, every day before she leaves the house, I say to her, when you walk out this door, the world does not love you. You not special. You not smart. You not anything. And matter of fact, you on the fence with some of the people inside this house. So you might be princess, you might be gorgeous, you might be smart, you might be talented, you might be all of these things inside this house. But when you walk out of this door, the world does not see you as any of those things. You're not special, you're not bright, you're not smart. Everybody, gonna treat their kids as if they're special inside their house, but outside. So again, understanding that, I have to send my son one day to be a man out into a world that is not going to be, as soft-handed or as gentle with him as I might be. I have to be prepared to condition him for that world he's going to inherit. The dynamics that, again, you think about Philando Castile or Tamir Rice or Trayvon Martin, and understanding that I have to send my son one day, out into a world where if he has a license, he might get pulled over, and what he needs to do, how he needs to conduct himself, how he needs to behave if he's pulled over. That's a dynamic that no other ethnicity that I'm aware of is going to have, as it relates to a conversation, a dialogue, a very serious heart-to-heart that I'm going to have with my son, or both of my sons, about how they should handle themselves and what they should do if they're in that kind of a scenario or that type of situation where they're pulled over by the police. How do they conduct themselves? Because at the end of the day, I want my sons coming home to me.
Exactly.
So but I'm not going to be with them 24/7. So I have to equip them with the knowledge, with the tools, with the skills, with the resources to be able to get home to me every day. So I understand, again, my dad was strict, and he was strict for a reason. Yep. He wanted his kids to come home to him every day. And I go back to that saying that my grandmother had. The things that I did not understand, when I was a child, I kept living, and now I understand them. They make sense to me now because, again, you don't know why your parents do all the things they're doing. Yeah. But it makes sense, and there is a reason that they're doing it. Absolutely. You know what I mean? We just have to get to a point where we've lived long enough that we can really begin to understand.
And light comes on.
Exactly. Certain things, even if you simplify it, there's things that I can teach my 2-year-old. Now that he's 2, that I couldn't teach him when he was smaller. Yeah. There's things that I can teach my 6-year-old that I couldn't teach him at 2 because his mind is more developed, it's more mature. He's able to grasp more concepts and understand them. Exactly. I can reason and logic, use logic with my older son. With my younger son, I just have to tell him what it is, how it is, and how I expect him to do it. Because if not, there's no reasoning with a 2-year-old. He, if he wants his cup or he wants something to drink, he say, "Daddy, Bryson want drink," and he expects a drink. If I say, "Well, son, it's too late for you to have a drink. It's time for you to go to bed. You don't need a drink this late," he'll say, "Daddy, Bryson want drink." So I just have to give him flat out no's. Yeah. Because to try to use reasoning with him, he doesn't care about my reasoning. Yeah. Now my older son, if he says, "Daddy, can I have a drink or a particular bedtime snack?" I can use reasoning and logic with him because he understands. Balel, it's a little late. I don't know if you should be drinking this time of night because, you know what I mean? You don't want to you don't like to get up as it is. So if you got to get up in the middle of the night to go to the restroom and then you be tired in the morning because now you don't want to get up in the morning because you had to get up in the middle of the night, go to the bathroom, and then take, another 20 minutes to go back to sleep, and now I'm struggling to get you up in the morning and get you ready for school. So all of those dynamics I think about as it relates to my son inheriting the world that, again, is not going to embrace him the same way that that I do at home, and not just because he's not just a child or my child when the world sees him. He's a black child, and that is not received well by the outside world, the general public or society.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that makes this unique. I mean, granted, shout out to everybody in the world who's a father who's doing their job and everything like this, but we specifically made this the Black Dad Academy because, let's be honest, I know there's brothers out there who feel like everybody's lining up for the same race. We're about to all run the 100-meter dash. But why my lane got hurdles in it? Everybody's lining up on the grass. We about to run the 100-yard dash. but why are people only trying to tackle me? You know, it seems like there's a lot of different hurdles and things that we have to, you know, go through in life as black men. But then we have children, and we have to prepare them for that same life that we've had to go through. You know, so it's definitely differences and unique attributes that come with being a black man and being a black father, being a black parent in general. You know, I remember growing up, my mother always telling me, you know, for every C they get, you got to get an A. You know, and it's like, you know, you don't understand. Like, what you mean if I get an A, and I should be good, right? It's like, no, you can't be good like everybody else. You got to be 10 times, 20 times, 100 times better than them just to get the same job. And then as I get older, it's like, now, wow, I have to prepare my child for that same type of mentality, because now I understand what she was talking about, you know. And these are like some of the different things that we have to deal with, you know. And I remember we were talking offline before we started recording how I'm driving home just today. I'm driving in my car. I own it, you know. No weed in the back. I don't smoke. You know, don't have a gun on my lap. Don't own a gun. Only guns I own are on my arms because I lift weights, you know. Daddy don't need a gun because he was born with 2, you know. But, yeah.
You Hulk Hogan?
Be easy. Nah, no Hogan. But, so I'm driving home. I'm in my car. You know, my license is clean. I own the car. No illegal weapons or contraband or drugs, anything like that in the car. Never have been. Police car flies by me. I instantly get nervous. Haven't done anything wrong, license clean, haven't committed any crimes, never have. So, but it's just like, you know, that aspect of life, you know, we're going to be honest. Most black men, when they're driving and they see police cars, we get nervous. Whether we did something, we just, you know,
exactly.
Did I do something when I was asleep? You know, did I rob a bank in my dream last night and they gonna come at me? We just paranoid no matter what, because it's like,
or is today the day I don't make it home?
Exactly. Yeah. You never know when you might fit that description, whether you did it or not. You might just happen to fit that description to being, you know,
because
somewhere between.
We all look the same.
Yeah, you could be between 5'3" and 6'8", you know, somewhere between 100 and 350 pounds. So you bound
5'3",
you know, between 5'3" and 6'8", weighing between 100 and 285 pounds. You know, you bound to fit the description one day, and it's like, okay, am I gonna make it home today? I have a family that I have to take care of. You know, I'm a provider for my family. Like, but not only that, you've made it through life. You've made it home. How do you prepare your children for that? Because say you have a son. You know, they have to go through all the things that a black man has to go through. Say you have a daughter. They have to go through all the things that a black woman has to go through. And you have to prepare them for that. You know, granted, things are different nowadays than they were in my day, than they were in my parents' days. But that doesn't mean that certain things don't exist anymore. There's still things that you need to prepare your children for that are going to exist no matter what. The only difference might be that it's not blatantly out in the open. It might be masked, which could be worse.
Right.
So you have to prepare, you know, your children for these things, and how are they going to, you know, face these? You know, let them know there is a time to fight. There's a time to fall back and be smart, you know, but learn when to choose and pick those times and things like that. You know, there's a lot of dynamics that goes into this, and that's why, you know, obviously we don't have all the answers, because sometimes the game could get changed on you without you even knowing it.
I think what's one of the things that has not changed, though, and I think it's important to point out, is and I, you know, I was talking to a coworker, and you know, this is something that, this is a point that I was kind of illustrating in terms of just my understanding as it related to, you know, being black or African American and in this society. And he pointed out something that I thought was significant, because I had never looked at it from another perspective or that paradigm. He thought it was interesting that as it relates to blackness, we look at our blackness from a standpoint or perspective of when we do something, whatever it is we're doing in society. You know, at least the way that I was raised was, I have a responsibility, you know, bring honor to myself, to my family, and my community. Every time I leave the door, those are my goals, are to bring honor to myself, my family, and my community. So I carry the weight of the responsibility of not just, you know, being an individual and how I want to represent myself, but also my family, representing and honoring my family well. But most most significantly my community, because my community is always under the microscope or being, stereotyped or considered or looked at a particular way. If you look at all of the imagery that is portrayed on the television, you turn on the news, they talking about, shootings in this black community or that black community. They're talking about violence in this black community or that black community, crime in this black community or that black community. So I understand the responsibility that I have when I leave my door every day is to tear down the barriers of the stereotypes and the false narratives that exist about my community. And I take that responsibility very seriously.
Yes.
So when I leave my door, I know that if something happens or if I do something, it's not just looked at as Bilal doing it or that black guy. It's looked at as
that's how they are.
Exactly. That's how those people act. That's how those people are. That's what they do. And he stated to me, that's not something that he's ever experienced.
Yeah.
If he does something, it's him and him alone, and it might bring some shame to his family. But the fact of the matter is, nobody's now going to lump all Caucasians together or all white people together and say, oh, that's what they do. That's how they are. But when we're black, and I don't shun the responsibility. I embrace it. The fact of the matter is, I believe it was Martin Luther King that said, none of us succeeds until we all succeed. Mm-hmm. So I understand the fact that, no matter how well I might be doing in life, my responsibility is to make sure that if I'm doing okay, that I'm pulling someone who looks like me along with me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I went to the Black Heritage Gala a few years ago, and the MC that night made a comment that I thought was profound. He said, everyone in here should have a mentor and an apprentice, somebody that's pouring into you and somebody that you're pouring into. Mm-hmm. Make sure that you are bringing somebody along because, somebody brought you along. Yeah. And that's our responsibility as blacks, as African Americans in this community, is to absolutely pay it forward. I think too often we shun that responsibility. Charles Barkley made a statement in the 90s. He said, I am not a role model. And I think that was very harmful to the community because he clarified it later on to say that he felt like parents should be the primary role model for their children. But what he didn't understand was the fact that he has a platform that children all across this country that look like him are aspiring to be like him, and they're going to mimic the things that they see him do.
Exactly.
Not because they're not getting good parenting at home, but because they see him and they see him as somebody who's made it, and they want to make it as well.
Exactly.
So when you see the image of someone who's made it and you want to make it as well, you have that much more of a responsibility to conduct yourself in a way that brings honor to your community, because there are people who need your example, not only for them to have the example to follow after, but for them to have some of the walls that you had to break down to be broken down by your example, so they won't have the same walls to have to break down or to have to scale or have to hurdle. So it's a responsibility of us as African Americans, as fathers, as black dads, to make sure that we bring honor to our community, because no one shoulders the responsibility. No other culture or ethnicity shoulders the responsibility for being the representative of all, that's despite, I understand the politics and the rhetoric that's been spewed by this current administration about, Latino cultures and communities being all, rapists or violent and drug dealers and drug lords and whatnot. I get it, you know what I mean? But note to the degree that African Americans have been portrayed, misrepresented by the media in this country, for as long as we can, go back. You go back as far back as you want to go back. Mm-hmm. No one has endured the misrepresentation, and to the degree that we have. Our women have been misrepresented. We have been misrepresented. By the media, by the imagery that we see in front of us.
Sometimes by ourselves.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? But again, so we have to take on that responsibility to make sure that we are representing ourselves in a manner that tears down those stereotypes, that at least confronts them and makes someone think, man, not all of Black America, not all of African Americans, act a certain way. Not all African Americans behave or conduct themselves in a certain manner. We have to at least, combat, I call it the counterbalance. When President Obama was running, before he was President Obama and he was candidate Obama, I had a conversation with some folks who, vote on the other side of the spectrum. Yeah. And they were saying, here's my issue with him as a candidate and Black people that want to vote for him is they don't even know his politics. They're going to vote for him just because he's Black. I said, well, let me ask you a question. Are there going to be people that vote against him just because he's Black? Mm-hmm. They said, sure. Yeah. I said, absolutely. Then if there's going to be people who will vote against him solely because he's Black, then I am completely okay with someone voting for him solely because he's Black, because it brings the counterbalance.
There you go.
There are people who misrepresent our community and they add to the stereotype. I get it. You know what I mean? You live your life. You if you choose not to embrace the responsibility of bringing honor to your community, I'm not mad at you for it. But I do need everyone to know that there is a responsibility that exists for some of us to make sure that we bring the counterbalance and walk with the responsibility of bringing honor to our community, because it's been absent for so long.
And I just look at it as when you were saying about how our dads used to have us a certain way, like you saying that you kept the same haircut because you weren't able to go outside the box and things of that nature. That was your dad instilling in you that we had to have a standard of excellence in everything that we did.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And at this moment, we need to make sure that we uphold that standard of excellence. We have to be better than everybody in everything. Yeah. We're already playing on an unlevel playing field. We're already behind the 8 ball.
Yep.
So if that's what it is, we can't sit there and look and be like everybody else and blame the next person for our shortcomings. No, we have to be able to say to ourselves, you know what? I'm not going to let you put me in this box. If it's not here for me right now, I'm going to go get it on my own.
Yeah.
And as I do that, I'm bringing you with me, and the next one's with me. Now, when we were prospering as a people, because as Blacks, we're always a loving type of people. We always, if somebody's in turmoil, somebody's in trouble, we always wrap our arms around them as a community. So being that, we can't just do it when somebody's down. We have to elevate ourselves in the midst. The one thing that I got listening to you guys is that even though times change, the values still remain the same.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So we have to do our civic duty as Black dads, as Black people in the community, to raise and elevate our standards.
Yeah, and the thing is this too. I mean, without spoiling the movie for anybody who hasn't seen it, basically what life for a Black man can sometimes feel like, you need to walk out of the house as the king of Wakanda, and the choices you make that day and that week and that month and that year and in your life may not uplift your nation if it's positive, but if you make the wrong decision, it could crumble your nation.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? One small mistake could be just a damper on your whole community, even though it was just you. Even though you may have been doing all this good year after year after year after year, it may not bring so much positive. Oh my God, look what they're doing in their community. They're doing so many great things. It's usually that one negative thing that happens that gets all the attention.
And that's good news travels fast. Bad news travels faster.
Yep. and that's the way of the world that we have to walk out of the door with every single day. Sometimes as a Black man, you feel like you have to go out in the world and be perfect every day, just to be on a level playing field.
Just to maintain
status quo. You have to be perfect every day. I mean, I don't know how many times I've been the only Black kid in the class, and in Black History Month, you got to speak for everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
just things like that.
Like
and now
you're
we're
the
talking
voice
like
of black people. So Brian, how do you do this and things of that nature? You know,
exactly.
It's an ignorance behind it, but this is what we go through.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and it's not a day that goes by that we don't face some form of adversity one way or another.
Yeah.
You know, like you spoke about when you're driving and you're totally not doing anything wrong. You're in compliance with everything, but you have that heightened sense of fear when you see them driving by.
Exactly.
No human should have to live like that.
To that point, I think, you know, it's what's interesting to understand is, or may give some insight to, is we developed this platform to kind of combat the absentee father stereotype or paradigm that exists out there. But here's why people need to understand, you know, even in that regard, sometimes it's not so much that they don't want to be fathers, but sometimes it's easier to not be present than to know you are not equipped, or you lack what it takes in order to be a father, in order to take care of your children.
Yeah.
It's easier to be absent or to not be around than it is to see your child need diapers, need food, need clothes, and you have no means to provide for them, or the best means you have is to do something illegal, and then that ends up having you being taken away from your children.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the question arises, well, where are the black dads, or where's your dad, where's your father? You know, my dad been in and out of jail, because now the cycle has begun, because I didn't have the options. And this is not to make excuses, but this is just give someone some insight and some understanding to the fact that when you walk out into the world every day with the weight of the world on your shoulders, as far as, you know, again, understanding, even before I have children, I represent my family, my home, my community, myself. And then as a black father, now, you know, if I have children before I'm really equipped to be able to provide for them, you know, I've got some tough choices to make. What am I going to do to make ends meet? How am I going to take care of that child? I can't even take care of myself yet, much less take care of a child, take care of the woman, you know, if I'm with her, my wife or my girlfriend or whoever it is who's had that child, who I've had that child with. You know, what do you do when you're faced with those kind of pressures and you're already carrying the weight of what feels like the world on your shoulders? I
got another question for y'all. How do you prepare your children for that awkward social moment? I mean, we're talking about, you know, having the weight of the world on your shoulders, speaking for all black people. But what about that awkward social moment where they may be in an environment where they have been successful, but they just happen to be the only black person there, and they have that awkward social moment where they're around a bunch of people that are not part of their, you know, ethnicity, but their only go-to is that, hey, did you check out the Cavaliers game on LeBron? Or, you know, I voted for Obama 2 terms. Or, is Lil Wayne your favorite rapper? Or, oh my God, I love your hair. Have you ever, you get what I'm saying? Like how...
Well, I personally always have the lines of communications open for my children, so that they don't walk through that struggle by themselves.
Yeah.
I always instilled in them, they're great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that nobody's better than them. Everything that every other child is afforded, they should be afforded. They can have, you know, just being positive, you know, with your kids, you know, and instilling, you know, your positive values in them. You know, and I would definitely say that you need to let your children know it's okay to be an individual. You don't have to follow, because everything that's presented in front of you, it might not be for you.
Yeah,
I would say live your truth as well.
Definitely.
You know, in this regard, I remember when I first went off to school to college, and speaking of college, I kind of approached my whole parenting perspective from how you were talking about, you know, it goes by so fast, and one day, you know, you're looking forward to being an empty nester, and then when you're there, I try to be so present in the moment, because I remember, you know, I couldn't wait to get out of high school. I couldn't wait to be gone and out of that school and out of that place, not because I didn't enjoy it. It was because I was ready to be grown, or so-called myself ready to be grown.
Yeah.
And there are many days where, you know, since that I would not trade in a heartbeat the opportunity to go back to being a high school student, the fun,
not having a job,
the innocence, yeah, exactly. no
Not paying
responsibilities
bills.
and all that. I would trade that in a heartbeat. Not, and that's not to say I don't love my life now. I just know that, again, I didn't maximize my appreciation for that time. So I try to maximize that appreciation now with my children and not rushing it. I don't say, man, I can't wait till you can walk, or I can't wait till you can do this, or I can't wait till you can do that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to rush those moments, because once they're gone, they're gone. My wife used to mess with me. She used to say, stop carrying my son. My son was 2 when he started the EPK program, because his birthday's in September. So I would carry him into the school because he'd say, Daddy, will you carry me? And she'd say, stop carrying that boy into school. And I said, no, I'm going to carry him as long as he asks me, because there's going to come a day when he's going to either ask me to not carry him, or he's going to be too big for me to carry him.
Yeah.
And I'm going to miss these days. So while I have the opportunity to, I'm going to embrace them. So, to that point, I went off to college, and I was at a predominantly white institution, and I would play football, and one of the guys on the football team approached me one day, and this is, a pretty affluent school. Kids were driving Corvettes to practice. I mean,
wow,
Ford F-150s, Dodge Rams, brand new, clearly being financed, not anything they got from an auction or from a used lot. And he comes to me, he says, "Hey, what's up, homeboy?" And I said, "You don't know me like that." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can if you want to be down or whatever you want to call yourself being.
But
you
they had
can
to do
come
that
slap me
awkward
up.
social go-to.
Exactly.
They don't know how to relate to you, so you had that awkward social moment.
Exactly. You don't have to try to approach me or speak to me on a level that you. I understand. Hey, how you doing? Very well.
Yeah.
I understand any way you can say hello to me, hi to me.
You don't have to speak to me in black terms.
Exactly.
Right.
Don't give me a poor attempt at ebonics or whatever you want to call it. Just be you. So I tell I'm going to teach my kids, just live your truth, and you don't have to accept or be okay with somebody who's trying to make or put you in a socially awkward moment. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Live your truth. You know what I mean? If it makes you uncomfortable, let them know. Your job is not necessarily to make them be comfortable. Don't go out of your way. Don't be rude, or don't intentionally try to make them uncomfortable. But if your truth is they've made you feel uncomfortable, let them know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Live your truth.
Right. It's harder to be something that you're not.
Exactly.
It's more work being something that you're not. So just be yourself.
Because you got to keep that lie up.
Yourself is good enough anyway. You still will be
Exactly.
loved by your parents and everything.
And it's funny you bring up holding on to those moments, and because I look at it like this, I feel like my daughter loves me. We have daddy-daughter days. There's times we just sit back and we just watching movies together. We're playing board games, and she, Daddy, I love you so much. But I also know there's going to be a time where she don't want to have nothing to do with Daddy. Daddy, I gotta go.
Be cool after
the
me.
girls is hanging out tonight. We going to the mall or we going to the movies, and I don't got time for this daddy-daughter stuff. So it's like, sometimes you gotta live in that moment and just enjoy and embrace these moments. 'Cause like
you can't get it back.
Once they're gone, they're gone.
Exactly. Getting it back.
My daughter's gonna be 9 once in life. Like I told her the other day when we were talking about, how she has to make sure she's doing what she needs to do in the classroom. There's only going to be one Valentine's Day in 2018. There's only going to be one January 9th, 2019. There's only going to be one Christmas in 2025. Once that day passes, it's never coming back. That's like with everything in life. So you have to value and cherish these moments when you have them, because the clock is always going. It never stops.
There's no
unless
rewind.
you don't have
in
any
life.
batteries in your clock, and you don't have it plugged in. But, time never waits for any man. House party 2.
Well, I appreciate you, brothers, and again, this opportunity just to again build, rap, discuss. Not only black fatherhood, black parenting, but just the camaraderie of talking about these things that we all think and we feel. And shout out to every black man, every black father that's out here trying to put one foot in front of the other and make tomorrow better than today was, or make today better than yesterday was. Again, if you out here doing something positive, again, be encouraged.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Just keep living, again, and just make sure that you understand that somebody somewhere is looking at you, needs your example, needs your positivity, your energy, in order to give them an example that they may not have had, even if you haven't had that example yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Try to be that example if you haven't had that example. Find the example if you need an example. There's some male somewhere around that you can glean from. Don't be too proud to say, hey man, how'd you learn how to do this? Where'd you get that? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Again, because pride will always come before a fall. Mm-hmm. If you too proud, that's gonna stop you from getting a lot of places in life. There's a sign that I read often, and I try to keep it close by, and it's attitude kills more dreams than ability ever will.
Yeah.
Listen, have the right attitude, have the right approach, perspective. Be humble, be teachable, be coachable, however you want to put it. But just have the right attitude and approach towards life, and people will gravitate towards you. People will respond to you. You'll see yourself get so much further. Nobody's an island. None of us got here because we were so great. Somebody helped us get where we are. Again, I've known Andy since I was a teenager, and I'm almost 40. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Again, me and Brian have passed each other probably for about the last 15 years, not even knowing. You know what I mean?
Until
20.
Exactly. The last 20 years, not even knowing that we'd be here sharing this platform. You know what I mean? And so we didn't get here by ourselves.
Yeah.
Somebody significant helped us along the way. So again, reach out, find whoever that person is. Again, some elder in your community, some elder in the church. Find somebody.
Yeah.
And if it's not in your family, find somebody who you can glean from and learn from. Again, because to be a man, you're gonna have to see a man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I feel like the only thing I really did on my own in life was have the courage to ask somebody for help when I needed it. Other than that, you need help in anything you do, and that's what this platform is going to be about. We want to help not only each other, we want to help those who are listening. We want to receive help, because there's going to be situations and topics that we discuss where we may need help. And I know we kind of came a little aggressive at y'all at the first episode and everything like that, but just to give you an idea of some of the things we're going to be covering. We're going to talk about dating. We're going to talk about self-esteem, discipline, guns in the house, being a black dad, in a marriage, sports. And I'm not talking about like, I got the Nets, against the Knicks. I'm talking about sports as it relates to like your kids playing sports. Are you that helicopter parent? Are you the one that doesn't have any involvement? Things of that nature. Fitness and health. Technology in the household. Are you Mr. Fix-It, or are you you the first one dialing the 1-800 number to call somebody? We want to have fun with this. We have serious topics we want to discuss, but we also we want to laugh. We want to enjoy ourselves and have fun with this as well. So
I'm gonna be serious all the time.
I got jokes for
that
days.
That was the joke right there.
No, right? The fact that you said you're gonna be serious was a joke. But
I waver. I'll be funny one week, and then I'm be just like, y'all ain't gonna be able to stand me the next week. I'm gonna be like Joe Clark the next week. Watch.
Let me ask you a question though. How are you gonna be serious when we have a conversation about having the dad body?
That'll be. Oh wow.
That might be a data waiver.
Yeah.
or being the cool dad, and do you still have your hairline at this age that you?
Hey, I'm doing good on the hairline.
You're great, man. You're great.
I'm gonna tell you like this, man.
Yeah. That's true. Funny enough,
it all falls apart at 40.
Funny enough, I went to a friend's
Not
wedding.
Really.
Not too long ago. I went to a friend's wedding not too long ago, and all my friends from high school, in college, and they was like, "Hello, man, how you still got your hairline like intact?" Man, I just thank God, you know what I mean, because
because you had your kids late.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give everybody a
but it is going gray. Like the 2-year-old is putting a whole lot of gray up there.
I can embrace the gray, but I'm gonna tell you like this. I'm gonna give everybody out there a little secret. bald black men can't stand black men with full heads of hair. I'm just letting it, throwing it out there. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know if that's true.
Everybody with
I don't hate.
I'm gonna put my hat on. I don't
hate. I don't hate.
I hate because I'm too scared to get the needle and get the the injections, or I don't want to do the black magic and the spray.
I take what God gives me, man.
I embrace it. I came home.
You gotta embrace it, man. You got just take what God gives you.
Have you seen they got these new like weaves?
I'm not trying to get a lace front, man. I ain't trying to get lace front waves.
You know what's crazy?
Women can get away with it.
The stuff look good, but it's just not for me, man.
It's not for me, man.
You know,
man, I seen
Steve Harvey got away with it for years, man. You can do it.
No, Steve Harvey was doing the Beijing. He was
that too.
Like he wasn't getting like a.
No, he didn't get the all out weave.
Exactly. He just had the super sharp hairline, and nobody knew he was really cheating.
Right.
But my thing is this: I'm not trying to look like Shamar Moore in that Tyler Perry movie. We had the cornrows backwards. I'm not trying to do all that. You know, if I'm supposed to be bald, I'm supposed to be bald.
They've come a long way since then. You got go online, check them out, YouTube it. I'm telling you.
You see it in your Facebook timeline.
I can't get it on Craigslist.
Sure. Well, what you do is go on Instagram and search barbers. See, I follow a lot of barbers because I cut a little hair. So go on Instagram. I guarantee you'll
search
see
the Black Dad lace front.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you.
Maybe we come out with our own
line. And the thing about it is, it's every style you could get, man. Yeah. I mean, you see a dude, he was like
lace front box.
Like he had the bozo hairdo.
You'll be surprised.
And then the next thing you know, they shaped him up and everything. He had like dreads.
Jamie Foxx been cheating too, though.
Bozo hairline.
I'm telling you, man. He had. You seen it? He had it like he looked about 30 years younger.
I call it the George Jefferson. He had the big, the big sunroof up top. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just all,
Yeah, I had a moonroof for a couple of years now. It's there. It ain't going anywhere. So I've just embraced it, man.
Of course, because your wife didn't leave you yet. No, I'm playing.
Yeah.
See, now, see, I could be the jokey joke guy this week. But, you know what I'm saying? But
he'll waver next week. He'll be serious. But yeah, I think that's it, y'all. Good first episode. We're gonna wrap it up. Episode 1.
Episode.
Yeah. Black Dad Academy.
Wait.
and my mantra: spread love, man. Just always spread love and keep the faith, man. Keep the faith. Always maintain that relationship with God, Allah, whoever you believe in. We all need that every day.
Yep. Love, peace, hair grease, beard gang. Black Dads out.
Peace.
The most amazing feeling I feel. Words can't describe it, the feeling for real. Baby, I paint the sky blue. My greatest creation was you. Glory. Glory. The most amazing feeling I feel. Words can't describe what I'm feeling for real. Baby, I paint the sky blue. My greatest creation was you.